Very good evening, friends. Meeting again with the Stuart Close Philosophy, and we have to start with new chapter today. Yesterday, we have finished very important chapter from the Stuart Close that is related with the susceptibility, reaction, and the immunity. Today, we're going to start with next chapter that is the indisposition and the second best remedy. That is the chapter number 10. This is from third year syllabus. And again, it is having a very much importance from the practice point of view. So, what is the role of indisposition and what one should do, how one should approach, all those things matters a lot. And for that purpose, Stuart Close has tried his level best to explain the concepts in his lucid language and with a practical examples of it. So, open your book and chapter number 10 from Stuart Close, the indispositions and the second best remedy. Not every case which presents itself to the physician requires medicine. The first sentence is very important. Not every case which presents itself to the physician requires medicine. So first important thing whenever you have to deal with the patient, whether the problem is physiological or pathological. If it is physiological, there is no need to give the medicine. Or sometimes the problem is just because of some exciting cause. It is of an acute variety and many times it doesn't require any medicine. It will going to settle by itself. And that's why the first sentence is very important, which he mentions over there. Not every case which presents itself to the physician requires medicine. It may only require the searching out and correcting of some evil habit, some error in mode of living, such as faulty diet, unsanitary surrounding, non-observance of ordinary hygienic requirements in regard to the breathing, exercise, and sleeping. Many patients turn to you with certain acute ailment. Doctor, since morning I am having burning in stomach. And he tells, doctor, does it happen because of night watching? So you have to ask how many days you are not getting good sleep. So 3-4 days I'm not getting sleep because there was program in our house and that's why we have not slept. And today I got the acidity. A simple indisposition because of exciting cause is there. Hahnemann says, if it is of a mild character, just look towards diet and regimen, change that and give the placebo. That's all. That's all the case. There is no need to give the remedy. Such a things happens many times. Certain patient comes to you with false chronic diseases. They are the smokers and have a irritating cough. And you observe that they are having cough since the last 6 months. And if you observe that they are chronic smokers, you have to tell them directly that unless and until you stop the smoking, you should not take the homeopathic remedy. When they agree, then give them a placebo and ask them to stop the habit. Many times that will be settled just removing the obstacle of the smoking. Nothing requires for their treatment. Such things are quite common in our practice, and that's why we have to look for such types of exciting causes which provoke the certain types of acute element, but not severe enough, never requires a remedy. So those are there in related with the faulty diet, unsanitary surroundings, non-observance of hygienic requirements, those things which you have to look. And then there are many people who absolutely never do a exercise. The most important part of the human life is to do the exercise. So if they miss, they go on developing certain types of disorders, and they are only because of lack of exercise. In paragraph 4 of the Organon, Hahnemann says, he, the physician, is likewise the preserver of health if he knows the things that derange the health and cause the disease, and how to remove them from the person's in health. So Hahnemann explained all those things very clearly, that he is likewise a preserver of health if he knows the things that derange the health. Most important aphorism from whole Organon is this: it is your duty, if someone along with the patient who comes and you observe that he is smoking, It is your duty to tell him to stop the smoking. If you observe another person who is absolutely obese, it is your duty to tell him that you have to reduce the weight, otherwise it will cause the damage. So if you observe that certain things are there, which because of which the person might suffer in the future, it is a homeopath's duty to preserve his health by telling him exactly what he should do. And these are very important hints which Hahnemann have explained. And then he explained the fifth aphorism. In the paragraph 5, the physician is enjoined to search out the most probable exciting cause in the acute disease, as also the most significant points in the whole history of the chronic disease, to enable him to discover the fundamental cause, which is generally due to the chronic miasm. So when he turns towards fifth aphorism, there are two important causes which Hahnemann have mentioned. In case of acute, generally they are caused because of some exciting causes. They are either physical, they are either chemical, they are either biological, sometimes they are environmental, whatever it may be, but because of which some disease is provoked as an acute. That is first thing, common thing which you have to look for. But in chronics, they are the products of miasms, basically the sora, basically the fundamental miasm. So, how to deal with the first variety, that is exciting cause, and how to deal with the chronic miasm or fundamental cause, that also he has defined over there. Many times it requires only to remove the obstacles or that exciting cause while treating the acute disorder, and patient will be settled. But this never happens in chronic. In true chronic diseases, unless and until you give a proper anti-miasmatic remedy, the things will not get cleared. In making these investigations, he directs our attention to the physical constitution of the patient, number 1 point. Number 2, his moral and intellectual character. Number 3 is his occupation. Number 4 is mode of living and habits. Number 5, his social and domestic relations. Number 6 is age. And number 7 is sexual function. I will say underline this, give them number, and keep it in your mind. Whatever the chronic disease is there, these 7 points are necessary to be studied. Very important. So first important thing which he has mentioned in order to deal with to investigate a fundamental cause is ascertainable physical constitution. What is the meaning of ascertainable? Ascertainable means directly visible to your eyes. What do you observe broadly, grossly, is matters a lot, because that is one hint with the help of which you can reach towards the simillimum. Yes, it will not directly give you the remedy, but many times it helps. We have every remedy and their constitutions. We know the fat fair flabby is typical constitution of a calcarea. The semidropsical, upper half is small and lower half is big, is the lyco constitution. And exactly opposite semidropsical, upper half is big and lower half is weak. Which is the remedy? Anyone? Semidropsical opposite to lycopodium. It is ammonium muriaticum. That is another remedy. So certain hints you can get on the basis of looking towards the patient. So ascertainable physical constitution, there are many things which you can observe. The person who is sitting in front of you having a very emaciated neck, that rubric is there in your complete or synthesis, neck emaciated. So you can get you can get all those things in your practice, and which are visible to your eyes. The patient's face is absolutely greasy, which is visible. So it is your duty first to ask him, have you applied any cream to the face? If he says no, then greasy face you can observe. You can see the tongue, and different tongues defines the constitution. So every aspect looking towards the patient, the physical constitution. That's why the first point in the investigating the fundamental cause is just look towards the patient, what you observe. If the hairs, if there is male pattern baldness is there, certain patients who never have absolutely hairs, some patients they have hairs coming out of ears, some patients, children specifically, have a long elongated eyelashes, silky eyelashes. Some patients having a typical flappy nose. Some patients having the motions of wingspan like a. There are a number of things which are which you can visualize and which hint or gives the hint towards the remedy. So first important point which you have to look for is ascertainable physical constitution. The second point which he explains over there is moral and intellectual character. So how will you know that person's moral character? No person will going to tell you, yes, I am having all bad habits, doctor. No one will going to come and express all those things. So how do you know that person is moral or not? If you deal with the patient, what things you are going to tell you, yes, this patient is moral. Here the history comes into the matter. You have to ask regarding all those things at the same time, how he follows your appointments, how he behaves during the consultation, how he answers during the consultation. Everything matters, on the basis of which you catch how is the patient's nature. The patient who is reluctant to answer, that also defines how the person is. You should not get disturbed because of it. You must consider that point. Today I have one child. She was brought to me. Her mother is doctor, father is doctor, and she has not uttered single word. She was too obstinate to give anything, to tell anything. She has not uttered a single word. This is an obstinacy which you have to catch. She is strongly obstinate. So here, the things which you have to observe is moral and intellectual character. Intellectual character, how will you consider? You ask the question, what is your name? And the person says, what is your name? You ask again, what is your name? He reflects, what is your name? So it indicates that something is fault. There is a fault. So here you have to catch something that he is doing imitation. He is not understanding what you are saying. So there is a comprehension difficult which you can catch very easily. Sometimes you ask the questions and he takes long time to answer. That also you have to catch. The answers reflects long. That is another rubric which you can take in such types of patients. There are certain patients who cannot answer your questions, like Baratas. You ask the question, they either look down, either go look up. There are some children, you ask them and they just close their faces with the fingers. These are all things which are very, very essential when you deal with the patient, and then you can catch how is the intellect of the person. I have a bad habit of observing the students during examination, during Viva. I ask the question and they answer is always they looks over there, here, then looks down. They try to say yes, 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 sir, and then nothing comes out. These are all psychotic reactions which reflects at that time. So which you have to catch. So this is intellectual character which you have to perceive. The third important point is occupation. What is the role of asking the occupation? Anyone? What is the role of asking the occupation?
Occupational hazards may be there.
Yes.
Some cement factory, the powders, no, it may create some problem. For film field, this hypo is a problem.
Mhm.
Some chemical industry problem like this may be.
Correct. Occupational hazards is one thing which you have to look for. That is, from allopathic point of view, yes, definitely it has a meaning. From homeopathic point of view, you have to go beyond that. First important thing, what is your occupation? And the patient tells something, I'm doing job. Second question should come in your mind, are you happy with your job? This is the key point where you can enter into the case. You ask, are you happy with job? Patient says, doctor, actually I didn't want to do a job. I have tremendous desire to do a business, but things were not in my hand. There were no funds. Ultimately, I have to do a job. But still, I feel if I would have done the business, I would be a more settled in my life. And still, I always thinks over it. So here something which is essential for your case taking, which you are getting over there. So he is doing job against his will, undertakes things about against his will. That is more important. So certain important questions which you have to put. Occupation is one of the part, but occupation, how much satisfied he is there with the occupation, that matters a lot. So occupation should not be asked just as a question to find it out occupational others, but that gives you or guide you towards certain things. Then third point which he explains over there, fourth point, that is the mode of living and habits. Mode of living, very important part, because that also defines how the person is. There are certain persons who are quite good in wealth, but they remains absolutely in a poor appearance, never comes with tidy appearance. They never even comb their hairs. The beard is there, and they comes to you and you ask, what do you do? I'm engineer. And what do you do? I'm doing a job in company. And you observe, you find it out, he is not at all tidy looking towards it. So mode of living matters a lot. Here you have to catch something which guides you towards the remedy. If he is a doctor, how he behaves, how he should behave actually. There are certain norms made by society and which are essential when you deal with the profession. So you should behave like a doctor, but if you are not behaving like a doctor, it matters a lot. And that's why many times you get certain types of peoples in your OPD where they are absolutely indifferent to their personal appearance, like sulfur, like coca. So mode of living, there are certain people who comes who don't have a money, but they shows they use those what you can say the false ornaments and many of them to show I'm in a wealth. Opposite to it, everyone is different, and that's why everyone how he remains to be there and how is his mode of living, that you have to catch. There are certain persons who used to get mixed, certain patients who used to remain alone. Everyone's mode of living is different, and habits, yes, very important thing. What is the habit? Habit, which in the spelling itself it is there. After removing H, a bit remains. After removing A, bit it remains. Then after removing B also it remains, is the habit. These are the things which affects and produces false chronic diseases many times, and sometimes even true chronic diseases. Sometimes the cancerous diathesis is produced because of habits. The liver gets cirrhosed because of habits. And that's why those things you have to look for. If they are there, you have to ask the patient to stop those habits. There are certain persons who are very keen in their timings. They are very tidy. That is their habit. That also you have to take into consideration. That is what is the meticulousness of the person. So you have to be very specific about asking the habits. Habits are not always bad. There are also good habits with the people, and that also you have to catch. So that is habits is one important thing which gives you individuality of the person. His social and domestic relation. Social relation, yes, how the person is, whether he wants to remain alone, whether he is social, whether he wants to get mixed with the society, whether he wants to lead the society. What is the position of that person in the society matters a lot. That guides you to the individuality, that guides you to the understand that human being in a better manner. That's why it is necessary to ask regarding the social and domestic relations. Most important point is domestic. Many diseases starts over here. There are problems with father, there are problems with mother, there are problems with brothers, sisters, there are problems with father-in-law, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, brother-in-law. All those matters a lot in production of diseases. Here, you have to look for all those things, and which guides you towards the understanding how this person's nature is there in relation with them. And that's why domestic relation, asking regarding domestic relation is very important. The question is very important. How many peoples are there in your house? And how are your relations with every one of them? If you prepare and form the question in a proper manner, you get very good answers from the patient. Your question should be properly formed so that you can get a quite good answers and you can understand exactly the nature of the person. So, social and domestic relations, one must ask and find it out the individuality of that human being, and then comes his age. Age is also important factor to be asked, because there are many females who hide their age, and you should ask them exactly, tell me the birth date. Because this is very important, whether patient's disorders, they are in correlation with the age. That is one factor which you have to look for. There are certain individuals who looks very early, they looks old, prematurely old looking. There are certain enthusiastics, even in old age, they are enthusiastic. Varieties you can get, and that's why age matters a lot. You have to understand. And last point which he mentions is the sexual function. And this is the last point which one has to ask. To whom you have to ask, that is again a question. It is not for each and every person you must put a question. But those who are married or those who are youngster, it is too much necessary to ask, because many times there are many problems are hidden over there, and because of the shame, they never explains them to you. It is your duty to ask regarding those things. So the last point which he highlighted over there is sexual function. And all those guides you to find it out a fundamental cause. This is one aphorism which gives you exactly what one should do while dealing with the chronic cases. And then he further says, but this line of investigation is equally fruitful and necessary in dealing with indisposition, of which I am particularly speaking. In the note to paragraph 7, Hahnemann says, as a matter of course, every sensible physician will remove such causes at first, after which the indisposition will generally cease spontaneously. So, word which has used is very important, every sensible physician. So, giving a medicine to each and every patient is not sensible physician. The sensible physician always looks for such types of exciting causes, and if they are there, he removes them first. By way of illustration, he goes on to say he will remove from the room strong smelling flowers which have a tendency to cause syncope and hysterical sufferings. And I may add that he will order hysterical and neurotic lady patients to abandon the use of the strong perfumes and sachet bags with which they render the air of their rooms unfit to breathe, aggravate their complaints, and make themselves a nuisance to everyone who comes near them. And this is the habits with many ladies. They use this many perfumes. Now there is one more um, thing which is going on. What's going on in India that says fog is going on, and that fog is creating problem. That is a deodorant, and this deodorant is causing lot of disorders from themselves as well as for others. Extract from the cornea the foreign body that excites the inflammation of the eye. Loosen the over-tight bandage on a wounded limb. Ligature the wounded artery, promote the expulsion of poisonous ingesta by vomiting, extract the foreign substances from the orifices of the body, crush or remove the vesical calculi, open the imperforate anus of the newborn infant, etc. So all those things, if one observes, it is necessary to tell them that unless and until this has been done, your patient will not going to cure. If there are children who comes to you with foreign bodies, they put the groundnuts in their nose. There is no medicine which will remove that groundnut. Don't give silicia. At least use the logic. What you will do? If you try to catch it with the forceps, it goes inside. So what is the better solution?
Advice to surgeon to mechanical removal.
That is the last answer, but simple is use the
We can make them to sneeze,
Sneeze.
with the help of
snuff.
yes, correct, snuff. That is the simple way of doing that.
Else we can use a thread and insert in the nose and slightly stimulate, means
Yes,
sneezing will come.
yes, that is the one important thing. So Hahnemann have explained all those things in the paragraph 7 and its footnote. All those things where he mentioned about the causa occasionalis and all examples of causa occasionalis or maintaining causes. And unless and until you remove them, if there is a corneal foreign body and it is watering a lot, don't give you fresh air. You have to remove that foreign body. Keep the dressing over there for 24 hours and next day patient is normal. So these are things which you have to do, which you have to understand. And this is what he wants to explain over there, that such types of indisposition caused because of some exciting causes, which you have to look for and you have to remove them from the person. So we'll stop over here. Tomorrow we'll continue with the same thing. Some things which again I have revised because those 7 points are very, very essential for the practitioners to look for. Tomorrow we'll continue with the same, and in the evening today we're going to start with 4th year's syllabus remedies, and today at 8:15 we'll start with the Abies canadensis, a very short remedy but very important remedy in practice. So we'll start with that in today's session. So thank you being there and meet again at 8:15.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.